I'm glad to see you here this morning, Gail. It's good to see you too, Sarah. Welcome to Conversations Over a Cuppa. I'm Sweetie Berry. We're just checking in this morning before the holidays to see how everyone's doing with self-care. Gail, you look beautiful in your red sweater.
Good morning, sweetie.
How are things in Minnesota?
Things are wonderful here. A little bit crisp, but it's the middle of December in Minnesota. That's to be expected.
Absolutely. We've got a few people coming in a little late this morning. Sarah is in Sacramento, California, and she's on the road, so she's waiting to get to a safe place to pull off the stop with us. And we have Anisha Robinson Keys, who is with us from Philadelphia area.
Good morning, Anisha.
And a few others here. So this morning's Conversations Over a Cuppa are going to do with self-care during the times of the holidays. And one of the things that I wanted to share and hear your ideas on are how do you stop perfectionism and how do you start really engaging your holidays during this busy season. Gail, I know you own a business. I know you're a writer and an author and a blogger and a wife and a founder of a group called Osiris Organization with at-risk children in Minneapolis. How do you take time to beat the perfectionistic bug during the holidays as a smart woman in business?
Well, I tell you, sweetie, it is tough, and I'm learning every day to get better and better at it. What I usually do, though, is I have certain periods of the day where I simply stop. Sometimes it doesn't work out perfectly, but I just have periods of the day where I simply stop, go get a cup of tea, sit down, do a few rows of knitting, and I just put that into my schedule. I think that's the key. It has to be in your schedule for us to follow it.
Well, that's it. You know, in my world, I am busy. I'm running 100 miles an hour. I'm a naturally high energy person. And so part of mine is about being very intentional. Now, my husband, Les, is a real sweetheart, and he loves to just use his little iPhone camera to capture us as life is happening. In fact, I wrote about it today on sweetieland.me, which is where I blog. And as we were looking through the pictures, there's pictures of my daughter, who's a young college girl, and she's serenely working with her animals, or she's working patiently on some of her art because she's a great artist. And then there are pictures of Les, who, you know, is chopping wood or is taking care of things for our home, and he's very intentional in that space and smiles on his face. And then there are pictures of me in process, and there I am, really seriously, really driven, really in the moment of getting something done, but not bringing joy to the journey. And part of the holidays, part of every day, which I want to be a holiday this year in 2015 as we go forward into 2016, 2017, is I want to make sure that there is joy in the journey. We've gotten so automated, you know, whether it's Hootsuite uploading our post or whether it's, you know, mechanisms on our phone so we can do our banking from the house, we're doing too much all the time. And part of what I really encourage, as you know, with my friends is to do intentional things. This taking a Conversations with a Cuppa is an intentional thing. It's a stop. It's a grabbing a cup of coffee with an intentional time with women that I really enjoy from Dare Whimsy, and just seeing how life is and checking in. And part of that is for me how to stop this perfection bug, because when we slow down and breathe, when we look at those pictures of our daily snapshots in our head of life, if we're not smiling, if we're not feeling happy or warm about our lives, something's not right, because it's the only one we got. This is it. This is the life we get, and not even another day is guaranteed. And so part of what we're doing is getting really intentional about slowing down at our space. Does that mean we do less? No, it means we do it differently.
That's right. Well, sweetie, so you're saying the snapshots that Les took actually showed you your face that you were not having fun.
Well, and it's even more than not having fun. It's not even having the goal of having fun. It's having the goal of doing more, getting it done, taking Wonder Woman to extremes, because I'm pretty good about saying no to things, but I'm not very good about saying yes to me. You know, for many years, I think it was very popular in the media to talk about the power of no. In fact, one of my very favorite books is about smart women know how to say no. And I think no is very important in our life. We have to say no to a lot of things to say yes to the good things. I was having problems with the yes part of it. You know, yes, I'm worth going to take an afternoon off with my daughter shopping and playing. Yes, it's worth it even if it's not about taking my daughter and doing something for her. I'm worth getting out for an afternoon and seeing pretty lights by myself and having that solitude at the park.
Yes.
Saying yes to, getting comfortable shoes, or saying yes to taking time to have a cup of coffee for 5 or 10 or 15 minutes with friends across the country that I don't get to have coffee with locally. Taking the time to say yes to what is it that would bring comfort or joy to this day, not someday, but today.
That's right, right. So you're getting more and more in the moment. Of that sounds what I'm hearing.
I think so. I think I'm very strong as a businesswoman of planning outcomes for businesses for a quarter, for a year, for 18 months out. I'm very poor at planning for today's moment to be for me too. I think I'm good at taking care of others and nurturing others, but I've not been as good at taking care of me.
Right, right. I can relate to that.
Tell me about how your business is going. I know you've opened a new business of Gail's Kale Chips, that you have a local run natural foods process, and it is, I know it's good because I've tasted them. So tell me about that. What is it like to be a new business owner after years and years of being a successful business starter with Osiris as well as an author? Now you're doing something totally different, and it's a new path for you. What is that like?
Well, it's fun, especially since I've been working it kind of for free for 6 months, which many entrepreneurs do. They kind of just get, when they have a product, you kind of get it out there. I've been giving samples to people now for about 6 months. So to move into actually saying, here's my product, you said you loved it, and here's what it will cost to now for me to get it to you so we're all happy. And to hear everyone go, I'm right in with that. tell me when you can deliver, and it's just really fun to see that. And to be creating a product that not only people enjoy, but is healthful for them. They don't have to totally change their whole life or even eating habits, but to be able to just add something that I find is very nourishing and tasty to boot. So it's just a whole fun thing. It really, really is.
You know, it really is fun to serve a service or a product, or to create something that is a joyful thing for others. You know, eating healthy is such a gift, and to be able to offer a product that not only tastes good, it's snackable, as they say, but is something that's really good for them, is a true value. And there's very little selling involved. You know, nothing sells itself. But I have found personally that when people are seeking something and you can provide a solution set, it's not about selling anymore. It's about what it truly is, and that's serving. And
Absolutely.
You're doing a great job of offering something amazing to eat as a service and an alternative to things that are maybe amazing to eat but don't serve our bodies well. And I think that's such an important message. And it's a quiet message. I love the way that you didn't say, eat this, it's healthy, or, you know, whoa. You said, you know, very little about the fact that it's a quote-unquote healthy snack. And I know in an inner-city environment like Minneapolis, that message is very important, to be healthy. But before they can get to healthy, they've got to have something they love.
That's right, and I am just getting rave reviews as far as, wow, Gail, this is so tasty. Who would have thought? I'm hearing that over and over from people who say they normally don't like vegetables. This is kale? Wow, this is right up there with as tasty as Doritos. I love hearing that, because what they're saying is there's no reason I shouldn't be able to either add this to my snack list or maybe eliminate some of those that I know good and well aren't so good as far as snacks. But I don't have to give up my snacks, period. So it's just that's just a fun thing. That's fun.
Well, and you know, the whole purpose of Dare Whimsy is to realize that our daily life, our business life, our home life, our personhood life can also be fun. And it's a really preaching to the choir kind of event for me this year, because, you know, I'm direct result driven. I'm direct sales. I understand how to do that training. I'm a teacher. I understand how to do an objective to get someone to learn something and to engage what they've learned into an outcome. But I'm redefining that to Dare Whimsy for the outcome to be something that's enjoyable as part of my daily living. And I'm encouraging, as I work with other business women and other stay-at-home women, that they really dare whimsy too, to rethink the rules they live by, to rethink how it is they structure their day, to go to a more joyful place. You know,
is it difficult, sweetie? Have you found it to be difficult to make that switch, or is it more a matter of what we're doing right here? It's just getting a little piece, breaking a little chunk off at first to move forward.
so much about the experience. I told someone this morning that wisdom was using experience with knowledge for good judgment.
Yes.
It's just good judgment to live happier lives. We know that our bodies stay healthier when we're happier. We know our marriages stay happier when we're happier ourselves. We know that our friendships are more meaningful when we can share the good times and the bad times. And we're really good about showing up when people are in trouble, when they're having a death or a divorce. But we've gotten so busy in our daily lives that we've forgotten to show up for gatherings for the happy times, to celebrate, to be together for the fact of celebrating the friendship, not just the funeral. And that's something I'm so aware of. I buried a lot of people in the last year, and one of the things I realized is the act of gathering was absent in my life. We're not seeing friends for dinner as often. We're not having people who come unless someone special comes to town, and then we gather friends to see that person. But the people who are in town are special too. And part of that is taking time. I know so many really neat human beings, and we may not all be able to go down to the luncheonette for lunch every week because we live across the country from each other. But we can surely gather like this and share conversations that help us all keep on track for the life we want to live. And that is just powerful. The biggest thing we have seen in our household, because we're all on this conversation, is to let go of the rules. We all have these silent rules from childhood that we live by. Rules that say make your bed when you get out of bed, and I never followed that rule. But it's amazing how many of the rules I do keep in my head forever. Like I have to have the house perfectly clean before I invite somebody over. I have to have engaged everything on my to-do list before I make time for a day out for me. I have a lot of rules that I live by that are very disciplined, but it turns out they're disciplined the girl who needs to be encouraged. And if I stop and start realizing that I would never tell you, Gail, to do what I do in a week before you take time for yourself. And likewise, you would never tell anybody to do what you do in a week before taking time for yourself. So I think part of the mission of, very much like you're calling all mothers to the well, is to have these conversations at the well. And right now the internet has to be that conversation today because we're in different states.
That's right. That's right. I think, too, as I was listening to you, that as women, we frequently save space out of our busy day just for the funerals and the trauma. In other words, I hear you saying we don't save the space for the fun and the good times because I think in the back of our minds, as they say, we're waiting for the shoe to drop. So I've got to be prepared for the next crisis or the next thing. So therefore, I've got to get XYZ done today. So whatever space is left over has got to be prepared for whatever trauma comes. Now, of course, that's silly because what you do is you're preparing for something that may not happen today. When you can prepare for something that's fun, you can do that today.
And Brene Brown says that we avoid joy for the fear of what comes after.
Exactly, that's what I was getting at.
If we don't have the joyful experiences during the times that are not trouble, it's very difficult to have a reason to go forward when the trouble comes.
That's right.
I have a picture in my office that shows 3 girlfriends that got together quickly on the way to airport after we'd been at Blisdom in 2009, Sarah Cook and Tanya Sanders, the Chatty Mama. We were staying in a hotel near one extra day before we flew out the next morning. We didn't have time. We had a baby with us. We didn't have time to do what we were doing, but we made the time to stop at Cracker Barrel and to have breakfast together, to have that time together because we do live across the country from each other. And even, 5 years later, that is such a meaningful moment to me to go back and remember and recall the conversations and the craziness of trying to get all of that stuff in a Volvo for all of our luggage and everybody in the airport at the same time. But those moments are catch as catch can. But we can too easily get out of the habit of finding those moments. I think so many of us are blessed to have weekly client calls or to have strategic client calls where we get to check in on each other's lives just a moment or two before the business takes over. But how much more important as women that we start intentionally gathering our time with other women with the sole purpose of being together.
That's right. And look at that memory. You said that happened in 2009. You still have that wonderful memory to draw up. It has not gone away, the connection. That's what I love. That's what
That's it. You know, those snapshots that Les took really got my attention. In fact, I blogged about it today because I really want the snapshots of my heart to always show a place where I was involved in laughter, I was involved in service, I was involved in kindness, I was involved in silliness with my friends. I want those snapshots of the heart to be emblazoned on other people's hearts too. I don't want to just remember, you know, gosh, Mom made a lot of money that year, or gosh, Mom, you know, traveled a lot that year, or gosh, Mom did something else. I want them to remember that dinner was on the table with their favorite food. I want my husband to remember that the washer was empty when it was time for him to use it because he really prefers to do his own laundry. I want to make sure those snapshots show quiet, careful preparation of time together, as well as time for just fun. Time to come home and say, no, we're not going to work in the yard tonight. We're loading up and we're doing this, that, or the other that we enjoy together as a family. You know, we too often postpone living for life.
We do. We do indeed. We do indeed.
Well, I think that's a great place to stop us this week. We're about out of time. I hope that you'll follow Gail at gailroddy.com. That's her blog, and it's an exciting place to go think some more on the same kind of topics. I'm Sweetie Berry. We hope that you'll join us with Conversations with a Cuppa next week. We'll be here again at 10 o'clock Central Time. Thanks, Gail.
Thanks, sweetie.